Okay, cool.
Got it. So what did I think went
Awesome.
well? I think that for me, this was just like, it gave me that warm, fuzzy feeling that we've worked really hard in geography, and I found that they really just loved it, you know, and I think it also allowed the kids who, you know, are quiet, they at least get to see all these pictures, and I always try to have videos that accompany the lessons. You didn't really get to see that in this one, but one of my coworkers and I, we worked really hard in making geography a thing. So like you kind of saw the very mini PowerPoint. That is usually like a whole week, 5-day kind of thing. Each of those sections, we talk about food for a day. We talk about famous places for a day. Share videos, find pictures. I always try to have like, well, it's limited now online, but like a draw along or something that is related to what we study, or some sort of craft. Like for Day of the Dead, they all made their own skull masks and stuff. So that has really been great for them. And I just really kind of wanted to give them a chance to show their own kind of style. And I think they did well. You saw some of the results at the end. Like I didn't get everyone, but
Oh no, you're frozen.
oh, better now?
You're back.
Okay.
Yep, you're back.
So I didn't get everyone to hand in something, but it wasn't really necessarily like going to impact their grade in any way. It was more just, we are still in school. We still have a week left, 2 weeks left. Let's try to end with some sort of fun chance for you guys to kind of do something. And so I think that in thinking of the lesson, I just wanted to keep it fun, keep it light, show them that they can do something very simple. They can also do something very complex, and kind of also check on understanding of what we've done this whole year. Like, how well do you guys understand what I've been blabbing about for for months? So yeah, I think it was just kind of fun, and it was totally inspired by them, which I think always makes a lesson more interesting to teach and interesting for them to kind of grab onto.
Yeah, yeah. That answers a lot of questions on why you were, so you can ignore my feedback on that, because I was like, why is it okay? I mean, like, why is there no rubric, or why was there no, like, these are your requirements? And,
Yeah.
you know, like you weren't concrete about that. You were like, you can do whichever you want, whatever you feel comfortable. That makes sense now. Why? Because it didn't count for their grade, and it was really more just to kind of see where they would go with what they've learned so far, right? About expressing their understanding of culture and how we see other countries. Is that right?
Yes, it was more, I may have like thought about some kids who are on the edge of participating in geography, like this kind of, when I saw who handed it in, it kind of pushed, but I really just didn't want to make it very strict and rigid. I just kind of wanted to see what they would do with what they've learned. So yeah, it wasn't
So was there a rubric?
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Sorry. There was no rubric. There was just
the only thing I
kind
said
of
was you have to include these things in
the checklist, right?
the checklist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they took the blank template too. Like the blank template was also just kind of the idea that they could just put on that, or they could add more, because they've never done something like this before.
Wow. The outcomes sure looked neat. So some of the students really just went way above and beyond, and then some of the students were totally age appropriate and great. And what do you think about the results of the project?
I thought they were great. And the people who handed it in, it was all very indicative of their personalities. And when they did end up presenting, some of them were a bit shy about doing it completely, but I tried to have them also explain to the class some key points and kind of ask them questions too. So I think it was most beneficial for the higher level students because they really went with it and they had like an idea and a theme and they could talk about it. The lower level ones, they knew enough to kind of just say the very basics. So I was like, that's great too. Like you still went out and you found the flag. You still went out and found an animal. Like that is great. And they never have a project like this. Like we're so used to in America having like book reports and dioramas and make a poster and stuff. So it was a good start. And I think talking to my coworker, she's like, we're definitely going to do this next year, but it'll be more structured and maybe more put out throughout the year so that we can kind of build upon this over the curriculum.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could structure it around the different aspects, you know, culture, language, you know, emblems, animals, or you could, you know, continue to do it by country or by continent and explore different continents. I mean, there's lots of really fun ways you can do it. And if I were to like make any recommendation to this project moving forward, if you were going to keep doing it, it should have a rubric that
Yes.
helps to like, this is outstanding, this is proficient, this is emerging, right? And I'm doing okay, but I still have room for growth in this area. So that might you know, a well-written rubric inspires students to go above and beyond, right? It inspires students to do more than be proficient, so, or it should. But yeah, that would be my only recommendation on that project in and of itself. What would you do differently?
I think what I would have done differently is not uh, done it all in one go. I think
Mm,
if I could have some people go in a week, let kids see their examples, and then see if that impacts the following week. Um, or like would inspire kids to be more creative or have a better what's it called, like a presentation of it. But this was just kind of last minute, so but I think definitely doing it more throughout the semester would have been perfect.
mhm. Why was it last minute?
Well, we didn't know the end of the school year, so
Oh, okay.
and we had just finished Antarctica, which was fascinating for me. I didn't really know much about Antarctica, but I learned a lot. And just like I said, we were really passionate about it and they were really interested. So it was kind of in the last 2 weeks that we put this together.
And you did it with your colleagues?
Yes, only one of them.
Ah, okay. How did theirs go? Did they say?
Theirs went well too. Um, Similar feedback, very diverse. Like the very basic to, you know, people who just had it packed with pictures and information. And not from everyone. So I think that that's something to consider in the future, but it's hard online, like to enforce that, because you can't really see them, or, you know, like give them a reminder if you're at school, or help them even at school one-on-one. You know, like, come to my desk and let's try to work on this together. Like, which animal we want to talk about. So I think that that kind of taught us a lot about what we could do with the project going forward.
Fun.
Yeah.
So let's shift to kind of all the standards, because here at the end, I get to score you on all 10 standards. And so just taking kind of a step back, here are the standards in the chat. What standards do you think you are the most strong in coming out of clinicals?
I think the first 3, I think 1, 2, and 3, just really understanding how they learn, what is challenging, try to use a variety of ways to stimulate them, whether it's a game, a video, a picture, writing, you know, journal, and just really creating that environment for them that they can feel safe and connected with their classmates as much as we can. I think that's probably the strongest. And, you know, I was laughing to myself while editing, just funny comments that just don't make the cut, but, you know, just, they're really curious, and some of them have a lot to say. So I love that.
Sorry.
Okay.
That was loud. Yeah, I would agree. Standards 1 through 3 really are your strengths. You have a soothing tone and a kind way of speaking, and weaving in, you know, all the things that you love about your individual students throughout your lesson and your talking. I mean, you always weave in little things that you notice, or little things that somebody said or did, and you notice individuals, and, oh, look, you know, so and so said they wanted to know why I had 2 PPTs up here, you know, and, you know, you just remember individuals and to weave in all of that. And yeah, it would have been so lovely to see you in a real classroom, you know, in a physical classroom. But I mean, you've got to give yourself props for adapting and learning and just becoming kind of an expert around creating that same safe environment, but online. I mean, was learning less impactful? Probably, just by the nature of, you know, that children are social learners, and, you know, inquiry, you know, they need inquiry, they need to get their hands on things, they need to do things, they need physical action around their learning. And they're sitting in a chair and they're looking at a screen, and we know that the learning loss is more around how to learn and the social construct of learning than it is really on the content area. Because we can drill through content, and we can drill through skills, and we can remediate all of that. We know how to do that, but we've never had to consider, how are we going to remediate and fix the social learning loss? How are we going to fix the socio-emotional development loss? You know, how are we going to fix the how to learn and how to interact with others? And that's the learning loss that me, in my world, I worry most about. You know, and then for teachers, just my everyday worry is, how can I support teachers through the trauma that they've been through, right? And keep them in the profession and loving teaching. So
Yeah,
it's a hard time.
it is.
Hard time.
I've seen a lot of things
Yeah.
recently about that. Teachers giving up the profession, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think we need to really step back and look at, and in a way change how we do school, like as a whole. Like what is the reason why we're doing this? It's not, I mean, yes, it's important to learn your ABCs and addition and all that. Those are great skills, but why are we doing it? Like what? And I think that more teachers are becoming aware of social emotional learning. It feels like that was a very, even when I was in elementary school, like that wasn't important, or it doesn't, I don't remember having just a class where we talked about like our feelings or something, or I remember learning, long and short vowels and, names of shapes and stuff. But who knows, maybe there was, I just can't remember.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I don't remember. Yeah. Yeah. Any other standards where you feel like you're particularly strong?
I think that like we're talking about how it's just even the standard 9, just like professional learning, like the whole online is a constant learning curve. And I feel like I remember there was a point where it was like, this is just not going away. I need to figure out what makes my life a little easier, or what makes teaching a little bit easier than just trying to fill 40 minutes of the time. And I think doing Teach Now too was like always pushing you to show the standards. So you have to kind of be very cognizant of that. And I think that in doing it, it becomes easier to do. So I think I've learned a lot, especially like with how much I can do and how I could help others in my team or in my grade. I think that I still need to work on like the tools of learning. Like, they always want candidate uses technology tools effectively to achieve maximum engagement and optimal use of class time. Yes, it's limited, but you got to work with what you have. All of these, it's kind of overwhelming how many online things there are nowadays. But then also how many don't work here. There might be a version that is in Chinese, but right now there's not, or I haven't found it. So I think that if I had to teach in America now with the skills that I have now, I could definitely use a lot of more of these Nearpods and whatever they have to use online to be more impactful in what I'm doing.
Yeah, there's one of my student teachers who's actually doing her student teaching for Prodigy Learning, which is an online virtual school. And the things that she does on Nearpod are incredible, and the interaction and engagement that she's able to build. I was so inspired that I even am going to put one of my modules onto Nearpod and try some new things. And because she was doing some really, really neat things where she could see each child in her class completing a worksheet real time.
Mm.
I mean, you know, they all had their own copy and they were all working on the worksheet, and she could, you know, ask students to share. And I mean, it was just incredible to watch. And she has no teaching experience, coming from zero, beyond being like mom and helping in the classroom, and diving right into online teaching. And it was incredible to watch. But we all, I feel like, have a learning curve here, and we all have to give ourselves a lot of grace. I think if anything that COVID has taught me is grace, and extending grace both to my students, to my colleagues, to, you know, other educational leaders. And we've learned to give each other that. And Lisa, I feel like in my educational circle, and I just think that's been one of the lovely outcomes of COVID. We've learned to be right and be in the moment, and realize that we can't change things. We just be here in this moment with one another, and being present has been another good learning
Yeah.
during this time. Yeah. Um, so talk to me a little bit about, you just alluded to professional learning as one of your stronger areas, and that was going to be my next question. Um, Tell me what your learning has been in this program, or in the last, you know, 12 weeks, around Standard 9 ethics. Since you've already addressed professional learning, and your role, you know, kind of in the broader scheme of the educational world.
Mm. I think that, you know, the past 3 years working at this job has really taught me how to deal with a lot of people. And it's not easy. You know, I went from a classroom where there was just me and my co-teacher and 17 kids, and that was it. And then thrown into this where it's 5 classes of 30 students, each with their own teacher. And I haven't really ended, well, I'm not very a big fan of the school, just how things have gone in the past couple years. But I also realize that I can't let that influence what my job is and what my role is. Even right now, I'm like, can't stop thinking they started summer classes this summer for kids. And I just want to know, like, what are you guys going to do? What books do you think you're going to learn? This is what we did in this class. But I also just need to be like, I've done my job. You know, I had someone message me the other day just saying, like, you were the most helpful person at school, and I'm sorry to see you go. And I think that it's taught me a lot, and I'm kind of excited to go back to the, you know, same job, same position, because she was like, you know, you need to remember to keep up the morale. There were a couple bad apples in the past year, and, you know, COVID has just impacted a lot of people, and you need to remember to stay professional. You need to remember to stay, you know, positive. And I think that I'm like, oh, that's easy. I'm sure these people are not going to be like some of the people I work with right now. So I am excited that I did the class. It's been a lot for Teach Now, but I also am excited to kind of continue it, especially just, you know, being more mindful of all of these standards that I've just spent months staring at.
Right?
Yeah.
We have 4 minutes left. So let's
Yes.
move on to Standard 10 leadership and collaboration. Tell me about how your leadership project, because I read it one more time here in the end. Tell me how that turned out and what you're most proud of there.
Sure. We had our initial kind of meetings with going over the first couple chapters. It was very fun to do it with adults. I think it's kind of great that we can be so, mindful of everything that goes in the story and kind of more honest about how the story actually is. But it was really great just getting to hear them be taken out of their everyday life and just doing like a kids novel study. And I think that kind of also opened them like, oh, I should start thinking about one that I would want to do too in the future. So I did try to create a list of recommended ones for grades 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just based on what I've done and what has been in the past. I'm not staying with the school, so I probably will not be able to do my fall goals, but I will pass it on to one of my co-workers, and she's going to be back in grade 3 again. And so we've worked really hard making the materials this week or this year. And so I'm excited that she can now keep it there, keep it safe, and build upon it. So I started doing the novel with my class just in the last couple weeks, trying to get them to do some of the things like discussion questions, and I try to provide a lot of visuals and stuff for words I knew they wouldn't know. So I can give that to her as well. So it won't disappear.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we have 2.5 minutes for me to give a heap load of feedback, but most of all, I just think, that you really do excel in standards 1 through 3, and to continue to build your toolbox of those highly effective strategies, both using technology and not using technology, that you can continue to develop and build on. You do a really great job of engaging with all the learners in your class. But one area like to continue, I think, to develop and work on is how you can engage all levels of learners. And part of that might be thinking about how you do wait time, or incorporating strategies like think, pair, shares, or things like that, which obviously online you can't do. But as you think moving forward, how can I engage all levels of learners? And another strategy for doing that is asking those leveled questions, right? So that all learners can come in with a low floor, and you ask those easy recall questions and comprehension questions, and then you build to the higher level questions. And through the way that you interact with the students and call on students, you're only going to call on the students that are the struggling learners for your entry level or your level 1 questions. And then you're going to call on the bell-shaped curve, right, the middle, for your middle questions. And then your higher achievers can answer the higher questions. And then when your students can embrace that metacognitive approach too, they'll be like, I was able, they'll tell you, Teacher William, I was able to answer the higher question today. And when I did that with my students and I taught them what I was doing with leveled questioning, I had the question stems on the board, and they would come up to me after class and say, I got up to the highest level today when you asked questions. And they owned that questioning strategy with me. And so I can encourage you to lean into that as well, as a way of engaging all levels of learners